Hi everybody, welcome to another Fun Fact Friday. My name's Chad and I'm one of the naturalists here at River Legacy Nature Center. I always have a saying that I would always rather be somewhere on a river. And so today, actually that's what we're doing. We're bringing you out to the river. We're not actually on the river, but we're over the river. And the river that we're on is actually my home waters river. It's the river that's extremely important to this part of North Texas. It's the reason that Fort Worth and Dallas are here, and that is the Trinity River. So if you can see behind me, this is the Trinity River. This is the West Fork of the Trinity River. And while I'm talking about forks, I want to just give you a brief overview of what the forks are for the Trinity River. Now, a lot of people think, and they've asked me before, is there 3 forks of the Trinity because of the name Trinity? I think there's 3, but actually there's 4. We're on the West Fork right now, and if I was to put my canoe in the river right here and paddle upstream, I would go all the way past a couple of dams and through a couple of reservoirs, but I would end up all the way out on the northwest side of Bridgeport. That's where the West Fork of the Trinity begins. Northwest side of Bridgeport, flows eastbound into downtown Fort Worth. Now the second fork of the Trinity is called the Clear Fork, and it forms out around Weatherford. It first flows southeast or southwest, and then it turns back northeast and goes into Fort Worth. And just on the west side of downtown Fort Worth, it joins the branch that we're on now, the fork that we're on now. It is the West Fork, and it keeps the name West Fork because that's the bigger fork as it continues on towards Fort Worth. If you've ever been into downtown Fort Worth and you can't figure out which fork of the river you're crossing, it's because you're crossing 2 different forks in there. The Clear Fork and the West Fork come together in downtown Fort Worth, and then they continue on east, flowing towards Dallas. Now, before they get to Dallas, down southwest of Love Field, they come into the third fork, which is called the Elm Fork, and that forms up north of Denton, forms up just 5 miles away from the Red River in Oklahoma. So it flows south and joins the West Fork down on the southwest side of Dallas around Love Field. Continues flowing east, and at that point, that's where the Trinity proper begins and continues eastbound on through downtown Dallas, and then turns southeast towards Houston. Along the way, it picks up the fourth fork, which is the one that most people don't know. It's called the East Fork of the Trinity, and that flows into the main stem and continues on down to the east side of Houston, through Lake Livingston on the east side of Houston, and all the way down into the Gulf of Mexico, into Trinity Bay, aptly named for the river, and that's just to the northeast of Galveston. So if you've been to Galveston, Trinity flows in not far from that into Trinity Bay. So if it forms all the way up almost to Oklahoma, ends up all the way in the Gulf of Mexico, it's an extremely long river. So it averages about 715 miles long, and that makes it the longest river that's entirely within the state of Texas. There's other rivers that are longer, but they form outside the state and go through or into the Gulf. But this one is the longest one entirely within the state of Texas. It's a lot of water down into the Gulf of Mexico, just under 6 million acre feet of water into the Gulf of Mexico. That's a lot of water. That's about 1.8 trillion gallons a year that goes down into the Gulf of Mexico just from this river. So, big river, puts a lot of water in, but it's the main reason that it's so important for this area is because it's the reason that Fort Worth and Dallas are both here. When Fort Worth and Dallas were first established and first settled, it was the only source of drinking water. There were no natural lakes in the area, so this was their main source of drinking water, and that's where it all began. So now you know the forks. There are 4 forks, not 3, and the name Trinity has nothing to do with the forks. That's a whole nother story, and I don't have time to get into that today. That's a very interesting story, but it's named totally different from the forks. So I just want to give you a little bit about the river. If this does spark your interest at all, whenever we get back to normal and we get visitors and we get some programs going again, I will be doing a long lecture about the history, the cultural and natural history of the Trinity River. So keep your eye out for that, and we will look forward to seeing you there. So until we see you again, I'll be out as usual somewhere on the river.